We have amongst us our next speaker, Shri Varun Agarwal, who is also known as His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Rajendra Kumar Swami. He graduated from the prestigious IIT Kanpur, obtaining his BTech in Aerospace Engineering in the year 1999. He worked on a project of solar-powered aircraft and was ranked first in his entire department. However, his longing for something deeper about life, which always bothered him, finally culminated in meeting the illustrious scientist saint Dr. T.D. Singh, His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami, the founder director of the Bhaktivedanta Institute. Under his guidance, he began studying ancient Vedantic wisdom, dedicating himself completely for the cause of helping humanity through the interface of scientific temper and spiritual wisdom. He is currently serving as the director of the Bhaktivedanta Institute, Kolkata. Besides his various involvements, he frequently travels across India and abroad and interacts with scientists and scholars all over the world, including world-renowned universities of Harvard, Princeton, ETH, and Stanford to MIT. He is also the editor of Bhakti Vedanta Institute's reputed science and spirituality journal, Savijnanam. Without wasting any further time, I would like to request our next speaker to start his topic, which is physics and consciousness.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। So, yeah. So we had a very brilliant session today. Okay, presentation is here. Starting from the inaugural session to very energetic talks in the morning. And one of the thing which has helped me actually as Professor Home, Dipankar Home, and our Professor Anthony, they have given a very good insight about the quantum physics, the foundations issues. So I had two parts in this. One was a little bit giving an overview of the foundations of quantum physics. So I will maybe, because very good introduction, very good insights have been given. So I will not go detail into that. And then some second part, subjective part. So that was towards a synthesis of objective and subjective explorations. Okay, let's move. So this year is 50 years of Bhaktivedanta Institute, 1974 to 2024. So we'll have a couple of events. This event is a part of that celebration. We started this year 24 with a lecture by Phillips. Phillips is a very beautiful man, I mean, gentleman with very good insights. He worked in laser cooling of atoms, and we have a very good relationship. Our founder had, so still continuing. We meet him couple of times. He gave a very beautiful talk in the January this year. And then we had a summer school on origin of information, like we have origin of life, origin of universe. And so similarly, we had brainstorming by experts, scholars on origin of information just now, last month. And now we are here. Okay. So the issue, consciousness. So consciousness is a major problem today. It's one of the major unsolved problems in science today. This Christoph Koch, he works in California in Brain Institute, very famous. He also is one of the scholar who is very well known in this consciousness work area. So what exactly is the problem? To put it simply, well, this is many of you must be already knowing. This is Richard Feynman. So he put the problem very nicely, very simply. Well, what is the difference between a candle and a man or a woman? Means if you see from physics point of view, candle is also burning carbon, taking oxygen and producing carbon dioxide. I'm also taking oxygen from the outside atmosphere, burning and producing carbon dioxide. So what is really the difference? Are we just the combustion engines? He started with this nice insight. And one of the good thing in modern science is that you can ask very good questions. And that good questions can really take you the exploration of those answers for that to a very great extent, to a very deeper extent. Well, that same question you can put in a very simple way. What is the difference? This is a modern issue which AI is grappling with. Well, they look really same. If nowadays we have robots, you touch the cheek and he will smile. So it really looks like a child. So is there really a difference or will there be a difference? So many questions you can put it. Just put it in a simple form. Well, this is one of the question Paul Davis physicist. He's still there in Australia. He put this question very nicely. That when you throw a ball, we know by Newton mechanics, the projectile motion it follows. But when you release a bird, we don't know where the bird will land. So on a deeper look, bird, if you analyze, and the biologists know very well when they go into the laboratory, what are the neurons, the DNA, the carbon hydrogen atoms, and the bird is seemingly made up of same kind of atoms. So where this kind of issue comes, why it doesn't follow any equations. So this is, but dead bird do follow Newton mechanics. If you throw a dead bird, it follows a projectile motion. But living bird doesn't. So these are kind of issues where, to put it simply, and then you can make it more deeper. What is really a difference between me and molecules? Back to, means you go to more fundamental. So these issues they raise to a basic questions of. We know that there is a difference, consciousness. So what is this, and what developments in modern science taught us about it, and what ancient tradition wisdom can help it. So we'll share a few thoughts on that. So quantum physics, we will go so much detail, but just trying to share you, they have already done a very good job. So my job is easier today. Well, the references are, our institute has produced 3 books. One is Consciousness, which we all of you got today in your kits. This was written by the founder, very small but very beautiful, profound book. The second book, which Dr. Singh, the founder, had with Roger Penrose, very beautiful dialogue they had in Oxford. And then the proceedings are a more or less independent volume, Quantum Physics and Consciousness. This emerged from the conference we had in 2017. The beauty of this is that there are various sections in it, of course, Foundation of Quantum Mechanics, Quantum Physics and Life, Quantum Physics and Beyond. But then interesting part is the first section of this book contains thoughts by the founders of quantum physics. Planck, Bohr, very beautiful. These are lessons learned from the development of physics. All these thoughts about mind, about free will, from those people who were really puzzled at the in the 1920s, 1930s. In fact, recently we visited Copenhagen, the very hub where all these discussions were happening. So these thoughts are very beautiful. My request that all of you, wherever possible, try to go through this first section. It could really bring a revolution in one's direction of thinking. And especially our focus on our institute has been more on the founders of quantum mechanics. Means the famous book, which we like very much, Heisenberg's Physics and Philosophy. This has been our very good reference. Of course, What is Life is famous by Schrodinger, and then philosophical problems of quantum physics, and the Niels Bohr Light and Life. Max Planck, Where is Science Going? And this is Pauli. So like that, some of these are really the core which forms our reference, and I request you that if you get time in your life, at least go through some of these books. It will really change and also maybe remove any possible doubts which we may have that about regarding consciousness. Okay, so let me get into the issue. Roger Penrose, very nicely, he's a very good well-wisher of our institute. He very nicely summarized the quantum physics in two parts in this dialogue, which I showed in the beginning with Dr. Singh. One is the equations part, which works very well, the Schrodinger equation and all. And there are foundational issues, the part two. These foundational issues I have categorized into the 5 aspects, which I will briefly tell you. Wave nature of matter, non-locality, measurement problem, uncertainty, meaning of wave function. So both of them have covered very nicely all this. I will not go into it, but just touching it in a simple way. If you see the history of quantum physics, the wave nature of matter, history of quantum physics is that we started with the problem in light. Means light also behaves like electron or a particle and wave. Then this problem came to electron. The electron we thought is like a particle, then we realized also works like a wave. Then same thing finally came to the all matter, not just light or electron, the all matter which we have in this universe. It applies to all of them. The history is skipping this. The history is this. There was a book by de Broglie, the de Broglie wave equation, which we all read, lambda equals to h by p, that's what that momentum. The revolution in physics. Very nice. Actually, de Broglie, many years ago, we were reading the biography and the works of de Broglie. So this very aspect of that, there is a, he says, then suddenly in the summer of 1923, I had the idea that the coexistence of waves and particles, which Einstein had discovered in light, might be equally true for all particles of matter. So this wave and particle which we are talking, if you see the beginning of physics, quantum physics, from de Broglie itself, this issue started coming, and de Broglie said, he mentions in the biography that I really don't understand what it means. I understand there is a matter, but there is a wave behind this matter or associated with matter, which we have equation also. We know it is, but what it means is a big mystery for me. Mind it, this is not the wave which you are talking normal waves. This is a wave associated with matter, the mass. So this wave nature of matter, physical reality, it showed that physical reality is not the final item in the universe. Wave-like behind matter, even de Broglie mentions, he could understand. So it means physical matter is not the final reality. Something more exists behind this physical matter, which is wave-like. So it is important to note, I am not emphasizing or explaining detail. This first point itself was very striking, and you have to yourself contemplate it. To tell you frankly, if one wants to really have deeper idea about quantum physics, one is to go to the history of the foundations of quantum physics, how the quantum physics was developed from 1900s to 1930, 40, first 30, 40 years, number one. Number two, the books by the founders, which I showed you. Number three, own contemplation. And number four, some of the spiritual practices. Then things will come very easy. That the paradox intuitively will not be a paradox for you as a person. So this is very well established today, the wave nature of matter. We have so many experiments, which is very common. Earlier old experiments and new experiments. The interesting part is the J.J. Thomson, he got the Nobel Prize for proving electron is a particle. And his father, his son, G.P. Thomson, he got Nobel Prize for proving that it is a wave. So both got, one got for proving it is a wave, another got for proving it is a particle. Well, then there are now modern times, there are a lot of experiments about it. So there is not an issue. Non-locality, what is non-locality? They described very nicely. Basically, signal or the connection beyond the speed of light. Means locality means that the principle of locality is Einstein established the speed of limit as the speed of light for the connection between two. So this question, this principle was long due to be recognized. There were experiments, but still it was not fully recognized. Later, 1972, these experiments, Clauser experiments, famous as our Antony showed, LLX experiment. And finally, when he recently got the Nobel Prize, then it has become a very well established or well accepted kind of uh, fact that these three people got it: Gillinger's, Aspect, and Clauser. So skipping all this. So what are the implications for this non-locality? It has a lot of implications. There's a reality beyond physical realm. There's an underlying connection of things at the deepest level beyond space and time. So this kind of hints which quantum physics gives is really opens up minds of many people. That's why you see today there are millions of books relating quantum physics and consciousness. Of course, I'm talking about the genuine side of it. There could be flaws also. So this kind of aspect provided hints for a mind like reality and consciousness as a connecting thread, possibly connects at the deepest level as talked in ancient traditions. Measurement problem, the heart of quantum mechanics, which our Professor Holm talked very nicely. I will give you a very simple example. Suppose you have a, not going to Schrodinger's cat experiment, just to give you a very simple example. Suppose you have a very sick cat, whose cat is very sick, and you put in a box. So after 10 days, a physicist asks you, okay, what is the state of this box? So as per the physics, as per both possibilities exist. Cat could have already died because it was too sick. She was too sick, or it could be alive. So the quantum physics will tell you that both possibility exist, and you know that only one is possible. Then according to quantum mechanics, exists superposition of two states. Cat is dead and cat is alive. Once you open the box, however, either of this is available. So now the question which I ask you, or you can, another simple example is, suppose you met a scientist 10 years ago who was 90 years old. Now today, when you are thinking, I want to talk to him. So the question comes whether he is still alive. 10 साल पहले 90 years उनका उम्र था. आज की डेट में whether he is alive or not. So now in your mind both possibility exist, whether he is alive or dead. So the question is, in real world it is both are not possible. Either he is alive or is dead. Then where these possibilities are existing? You have two possibilities, right? You are thinking in your mind, this scientist could be dead or it could be alive. And now in physical world it is not possible. That is why Anton is talking death as a clear-cut demarcation. Both these possibilities are existing in your mind. When you are thinking about him now, in your mind both possibilities exist. Though in the physical world both possibility is not possible. And that is one of the issue of Schrodinger cat or paradox, that these possibilities are not possible in physical world, and we are trying to reduce things to the physical world. They exist in the mind. So skipping the this is a one interesting aspect is, one of the things which I will recommend is that if you are interested in the foundations, try to go to the dialogues between Bohr and Heisenberg, of course others. We used to read a lot during our academic time in IIT Kanpur library. So really these dialogues are very revolutionary in the sense, like one time Heisenberg asked this question to Niels Bohr. They both, all these are happening in Copenhagen. Why we are not able to understand these? This is the issue, the paradoxes which are coming in quantum mechanics. So Bohr puts completes the problem upside down. He says, then you may have to question what is this understanding itself. Now today Penrose talks a lot, what we call quote unquote understanding. What is this understanding? From where it comes from, what it is. So these dialogues will really revolutionize thinking which we do. Okay, that these are the formal thought thing experiments, Schrodinger cat paradox, which they have explained, not going into details of this. And also skipping this part, von Neumann chain. So von Neumann, there is a book, very beautiful book, Mathematical Foundations of Quantum Mechanics, and this is mostly mathematics. But I request that you go to the last chapter of this book, and there von Neumann really goes into the deeper thought. After all this mathematics, he comes to the point that this observation or measurement involves three parts. One is the object which you are seeing, or suppose I have a microscope and I am seeing a object, cell or anything. Then you have three parts. One is the object you are seeing, the instrument you are seeing, and you, the observer. But then suppose you remove this microscope and then you have still three parts. The object is there, instrument is there, the eye, the retina and all, right? And after 100 years, you may know details of the proteins, all this. But then finally, who is observing? So that is the question he raised in the last part of this. Who is really the observer? Beyond this, instruments which helps us to see the observe or object. So there's something behind. Just to put in a very simple way, you can go into details of all this in a more precise way. So that's how this issue of either measurement or you can, the issue started like this. What is the issue of the measurement? Then it turned to the problem of what is really the measurement. Then you go deeper. What is really the act of observation? Who is really the observer? Who is really observing? Means these issues, well, the discussion between Bohr and Heisenberg, if you see, the issue goes deeper and deeper. That's how you come deeper, deeper, and then hit, there's something beyond this wave function and all which we talk. Just okay, so this problem you will hear a lot in next 2 days. Hard problem of consciousness, very famous, that any aspect, any action involves object, instrument. And the third thing which I have not told till now, conscious experience. And the final observer who is having this experience. To give example, uh, the core connection between object, this experience actually forms a core connection between objective and subjective domain. It's important to note because we all have experience. That is a fact which we have. Let me tell you, when students, some are talking, you can talk after in during the break. You see, what I was telling. Right. What happened was that when they were having issues in the beginning in beginning of 20th century, that we are not able to accept how the electron is behaving or the whatever they see in the experiment, the spectral lines and all. So Heisenberg came to a point that let me forget everything else. Let me just believe what is finally observed. We will only believe those things, and remaining thing we will not put our speculation. This is like this. No, fully believe on what you observe. Similarly, same thing in this. The conscious experience which we all have, it is not an illusion. And this really provides the link between the objective world which we have and the inner world which we have. Give you example that, for example, observing the sky. See here, telescope is there. It is also seeing the sky, where a man, a woman sitting and also seeing the sky. So there are common things. Lenses are there. Telescope has a lens. My eye has a lens, no doubt. And you can have double lens like this. One more lens of your lens. You have information processing. Certainly, you attach a computer here. Whatever little it has, you can more it. And then you have brain here for information processing. You have data analysis. True, you can analyze the data, which Webb telescope everybody is doing today. Webb is all those beautiful telescopes which you have. So these aspects are common, but there's something more there in this second aspect, which is the experience of the person, which this advanced machine does not have. And secondly, who is having the experience? Because a dead carbon atom does not experience. Who is having the experience? So these are the issues. So next is uncertainty, which we know it very well that we all read Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Actually, Heisenberg, this left side, he was really puzzled by this uncertainty too, besides other things, that why we are facing this limit of h cross, the Planck constant, in the limit of exploring nature. So this was also a big blow, and it has a lot of implications, not going into it, as we move from, because we had very good habit of clear determined things in classical physics. And then lastly, the meaning of wave function. So this is Roger Penrose. If you go to a course by almost anyone on quantum mechanics, you are supposed to get through an exam. You are not supposed to ask questions about what things mean. See, I tell you, in 25 years back, we had a course on quantum mechanics in ID Kanpur, quantum QM 101, then 201. You are taught, I have personal experience, and also we see what is goes on. We are given a very good course. You are given Schrodinger equation, how to solve problem, electron in a box, and you can apply equations. It works very well. But we do not know what is meaning of psi. This psi, which is in the part of this Schrodinger equation. Not only we, Schrodinger himself questioned it. Actually, frankly speaking, I do not know. So things which are very easy, which we get used to doing the maths, but if you question what it means, or is still a problem, even after 100 years today. Heisenberg mentioned that this about the wave function, it was not a three-dimensional wave like elastic or radio waves, but a wave in a many-dimensional configuration space, and therefore a rather abstract mathematical quantity. So one of the explanation is these are like possibilities, which you have like possibilities in mind, this possibility, and all those. This is one of the ways. But where these possibility exist, is it one of the explanation? And then where do exist? This is a big question. So summary is that the first part is that the wave nature of matter, non-locality, or the conscious experience, uncertainty, possibilities. Not giving example, actually, if you carefully analyze all these aspects, we too have. Which I gave you example, like in our mind, we have these possibilities. If this requires little contemplation, all these aspects we have as a conscious being. That's a very interesting going into domain of subjective aspect. If you carefully observe these issues and contemplate yourself, we all have a subjective experience of these properties in our life, our own thoughts and consciousness. They are actually properties of life, not just particles. So in a nutshell, we saw in a nutshell that there is not only matter, the hard matter which we touch and feel and see. There's something rooted. There are possibilities which we have in form of various forms in quantum mechanics that at least provide a good hints, open up our minds. In ancient traditions, mind-like entities. And then some final observer, some observer who is behind this. So whether it collapses or not, whatever it may be, but something which leads to a final outcome. Caution is that mind and consciousness are regarded same in Western tradition. In India, they are considered very differently. Be careful when you read the books or go through literature. In West, they consider mind and consciousness same. So of course, these are which you must have already know that founders, they came with all these thoughts that really we cannot avoid it. Also, we cannot explain it. Okay, this is Heisenberg. One sees that after the experience of modern physics, our attitude towards concepts like mind, soul, life, or God will be different from that of 19th century, because these concepts belong to natural language and therefore immediate connection with reality. We may not be able to define them very precisely in a scientific sense, but they still touch reality. And he says we will have to bring slowly these concepts which are talked in ancient traditions of the world inside modern science. Even though you may face troubles. And he gives very beautiful example how infinity was brought in mathematics. Infinity was brought in mathematics. There was a huge hue and cry. No, it will lead to a lot of problems, and still it leads to a lot of contradictions today. But infinity became part of the mathematics. Today, you cannot do major sections of mathematics without infinity. So that's the example Heisenberg gives. Similarly, you have to bring these ancient concepts like mind, soul inside, even though there are seemingly some contradictions. Okay, so some of the aspects here. One aspect is that mind is not a classical object like brain. This is one of the major issue which we have. You see, we have one is brain, the brain which you can touch, right, which you can see by eyes. But we all also have mind called mana in Sanskrit, in literature. So mind, we have been trying to somehow reduce it, like quantum physics, we try to avoid it and reduce to classical. Still, we are trying this mind to reduce to this physical structure called brain. So mind is, it behaves more like a quantum object. So how this came, how this issue came, today there are huge things in this area. Our Penrose and this Hammeroff, the medical doctor in America, they both work in this. Many people are working. They, one of them is, their group is one of the famous groups, microtubules group. There are many. Actually, in 25 years ago, we had a model which we studied while studying in IIT, that Eccles model means to explain the connection between one neuron to another, the synapse, they were using quantum physics to explain this connection between these two. Synapse is a big mystery, and we have a lot of models using quantum physics to explain. And then there are other models which came slowly further. So not going into detail for that. So let me go to the second part is the cause of the issues being faced in the foundations of quantum physics. There is an incompleteness of our scientific concepts and theories without consciousness. This is very important to realize. Slowly, we may not be able to fully prove it to others, but one has to himself realize and absorb. I will get into it, Gödel's incompleteness theorem later. So please be cautioned is, scientific concepts are not wrong. They are correct in a specific domain, but incomplete when talked in terms of ultimate reality. I will explain you what I'm trying to say. Heisenberg mentions this concept of position and velocity as incomplete. See, classical mechanics depends on these concepts. You talk about the position of a particle, right, of a ball. You talk about the velocity. But then when you go deeper, when we developed in quantum physics, he questioned that these words, position and velocity of an electron, for instance, they had a very well-defined meaning in the Newtonian mechanics, but they were not well-defined as seen from the relations of uncertainty. So in relation to their nature, to the nature, means reality, they are not. So you will go deeper and deeper. It requires little contemplation that these concepts are actually not complete. Means, to tell you in a short way, you assume some reality and then define some concepts. Like you assume this world is made up of dead atoms or particles, and then you define a concept called position. Now, when you go deeper, you find that there are issues with this word, this assumption. You will find that position, actually this Heisenberg faced this issue while developing this matrix mechanics. When he found out from mathematics, the electron is not at one position, he got a whole matrix. So he said, this, what is this meaning that electron is all around? So next level he went, no, the concept of position which we assumed in the classical mechanics itself is a question mark. So like that, if you go deeper, all these theories which you have are very good, but still incomplete. So not skipping this, the position, concept of position, how it evolved in physics. Electron as at one point or delocalized to the wave function. So in Newton mechanics it works well, but then you go to quantum mechanics, it evolves, you have to expand it, you go further and further. When you want to touch reality, these concepts are good, correct, but incomplete. Be careful, incomplete, not wrong. Let me give a simple example of force. Force is a very simple concept which you use in physics from childhood. F equal to ma, right? So we all use this very simple concept. So now in this idea of force, if you go to I will not tell you the history how I went inside this force, but and if you go to the roots, Newton's Principia Mathematica, the third volume of where he questions the origin and nature of force. how this force originates. For example, if you push a block, which we study in physics, okay, fine, you are pushing a block of mass and you have equation, you have friction, you have Newton mechanics equation. But what is the origin of that force finally? From where it originates? Okay, it originates from the brain. There's a firing in the brain. But why there was a firing? You go root. So origin is issue. This actually Newton himself raised this question. Today, recently, now this question has been raised by many scholars. There's a professor, Wilczek in MIT, physics person, also Nobel laureate. He raised this question too in a book called The Lightness of Being. So this, and also the nature of this force. What is this nature of this force? Actually, Newton mentioned that these concepts are not really, I have not fully defined uh, in my mechanics. I give you a simple example from subjective addition now. See the force. Force has three parts. One is the physical force. Like I push this flower, you have physical force. You have a psychological mental force, means your mind is wanted to go, your mind is going towards something. Where is you feel the push inside you, the force which we all feel. Means we all have a direct experience of this. Our mind pushes to do something even if we do not want. And there is a spiritual force, means the force your will to do something. Those two things, aspects are missing in our current concept of force. For example, you have a tomorrow exam, but mind is pushing you towards the going something else. So what is that force? This force is not taught in Newton mechanics. Yes. Okay, 5 minutes. Very good. So this force of mind, we have practical experience. So this force of mind or psychological force, whatever you want to say. And then the will, the spiritual force, or in spiritual traditions, it is talked force of the soul or the will. So idea is that force is not only physical, there is a psychological force, there is a spiritual force. These two aspects of forces, they belong to consciousness. This aspect is missing. This we all have direct experience. This aspect, we have very beautiful force of physical, but this aspect is. Hence, the concept of force is not well defined without consciousness. Similarly, other concepts like work, velocity, motion, other. For example, work also. You don't not only do work in the laboratory or in your library, you also do mental work, right? You make a planning. I will go today, do this, do this. What happened to that work? The mental work. So those concepts needs to be expanded. In fact, in this will be very useful. I request everybody who's ever really interested in deeper into this topic to very thoroughly go through a theorem called Gödel's incompleteness theorem 1931. This theorem was like in quantum physics, we had a lot of issues like Solvay conferences, debates, like our Antonio was mentioning. In mathematics also, there was a lot of debates. Same time, 1920s, 30s, 35, there were the groups like Brouwer group, Netherlands, and then there were groups there that we also went into details of that, and we went to this Vienna, the Gödel's hub, where Gödel was born and gave this theorem. So Gödel theorem, he gave a mathematical theorem which says that whatever you put, it was actually in arithmetic, but he could explain it very nicely. Whatever concepts you give, they will be complete without mind. Very, very profound theorem. He explains this here. My theorems only show that mechanization of mathematics, that is the elimination of mind and of abstract entities, is impossible if one wants to have a satisfactory foundation and system of mathematics. It is not the structure itself of the deductive system which is being threatened with a breakdown, but only a certain interpretation of it, namely its interpretation as a blind formalism. So I request, these are about 100 pages theorem in mathematics, 1931. Very beautiful. And it brought a lot of revolution in many people's mind, including Roger Penrose. He was reading this in the beginning of his journey into quantum physics. I'll explain you a simple example, this concept, this idea. Suppose there's a person, this boy, he's pushing a box from A to B, okay? Now, he's pushing this box with distance D. This is the distance, and he takes, suppose whatever time he takes, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and this is the angle which he has, the rope which is pushing it. So there are very good answerable questions. How much time it will take to shift the block, which is perfectly fine. You can, if you know the friction, you know the angle, you can find out how long it will take. You can also ask the question, how much energy will be required for this action? That you can also answer. What angle he should drag to minimize the work, the minimum action principle or minimum work, you can also find out. So these questions are answerable, but there are questions which are not answerable from all this. Why is he shifting this block? Is his office is shifting? He's shifting his house, or is he cleaning the office? What is the purpose? Why is he shifting it? Or there's some emergency going on in that his workplace? What is actually the purpose? This is unanswerable. That's why Godel said there will be questions which will be unanswered. That's why it's called incomplete. Why shifting now itself? Is there some emergency, or tomorrow is leaving the country? What is the answer for this? Why is it shifting this side, not other side? So how to get answer to this? These are not answerable with the equations which we have, whether it's quantum mechanics, whether it's Newton mechanics. So purpose doesn't, one of the element is purpose. And purpose doesn't lie in equation physics we have of motion. Then where does it lie? So it lies somewhere, right? When we do action. So that is why mind or consciousness comes in picture. So that is why, as per our ancient tradition, reality is not just physical, or not only physical. There is a psychological aspect, there is a spiritual aspect in us and this world. That is why Schrödinger mentioned our science, Greek science, is based on objectification. But I do believe that this is precisely the point where our present way of thinking does need to be amended, perhaps by blood transfusion from Eastern. We need to literally expand the concepts, and India can really help in this regard. Okay, I think the time is up. So this issue of consciousness, I will finish in a minute. I'm done. I just finish in a minute showing some things. So this is issue of consciousness, not only physics or mathematics. This issue is in major disciplines today. Not only in all these modern scientific, even in law, this issue of consciousness is there. We have a department of law and neuroscience in American many universities today. In mathematics, it comes in very black and white. If you are interested, we had a conference, very detailed work on this. Intuitionism, a whole field developed in mathematics because of these issues. And then, of course, other areas. Like in AI, I think many people will cover tomorrow. So what is the all these issues will be covered. I am skipping it. In mathematics. So our root idea is that this life which we have been trying to reduce to matter, life is actually not just matter. Not only there is the issue of consciousness, there is the issue of free will, purpose, meaning, responsibility, intelligence. What is really intelligence? Understanding, numbering is a big issue in mathematics. Gratitude. These are big issues. You can have one conference on each topic actually. We are today having on consciousness. We had a summer school on origin of life, very detailed, couple of days summer school. So people are getting very clear. This is a biologist, this is a physicist. He will be speaking today evening, Patrico, and this is psychologist. That this reducible idea, everything reducing to dead atoms, it is not a correct idea. We should get rid of this. So Vedantic traditions tell that life is not just the physical part which you can see and touch, a psychological and spiritual aspect. So it is already become clear that a chapter which had a Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending if it is not to end in self-destruction of human race. At this supremely dangerous moment in history, the only way of salvation for mankind is the Indian way. There are consciousness centers, journals is not a just a is not an issue for a small group today. We have many centers, Center for Conscious Studies in Arizona, where this Hamroff and Penrose go very often. Hamroff belongs there. Then Michigan, Center for Conscious Studies. Then UC Berkeley, there's a very nice center, Greater Good Center. Stanford, we have Center for Research on Compassion. And there are more than 35 centers in academic university in America on mindfulness and consciousness. And today we have very good journals. After our consciousness conference in 1990 in San Francisco, the Journal of Consciousness was started by a group of scholars. And we have our own journal called Savigyanam, which our founder started, and it has 11 volumes and related to consciousness. Every volume has a very good scholars uh, from around the world articles from field medalists, Nobel Prize. So this is the conclusion and suggestions and requests that irreducibility, consciousness is reducible to matter, is basically not reducible to matter only. Adopt new ideas. We should try to give away the old habit of reductionism, trying to reduce everything to matter or particles. Means attempting to reduce everything to dead atoms and molecules. Multidisciplinary approach. A multidisciplinary approach is necessary to solve the riddle of consciousness. Only one discipline cannot handle it. And in that discipline, ancient Indian wisdom can really play a significant role. So to solve the mystery of consciousness, our request is that the science can help in transplantation of heart, but to transform the heart, you need spiritual direction. So both science and spirituality are necessary. Thank you very much.